Hey guys, welcome to another Cam Talks Firearms Talk. Of course, now that the sun is out, I have it directly in my face, but hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm reviewing a little bit better. If you've seen my pictures and posts from the last week, you know that I've gotten a pre-64 Winchester Model 70. The Winchester Model 70 was originally produced in 1936 and continued in its unaltered form till 1964, when Winchester, in some cost-cutting measures, decided to change a bunch of things about these rifles. And it stayed that way till, I think, the mid-90s, when they went back to this older style of action that I'm going to talk about right here. So, what you have in front of you, in front of me, is a standard grade 24-inch barrel 30-06 Winchester Model 70. The previous owner put a Weaver 4-power scope on it, which is great. Really unkillable, simple scope. And then originally, looks like it also had a peep sight on it. The way the peep sights work is basically, rather than just putting the post from the front sight and the V-notch together to aim at your target, you have a circle. And if you've ever done this, just to see if you can focus in on something a little bit better, like putting a hole in a piece of paper so you can focus, that's the same thing it does. It focuses your eye on a much smaller point, makes it a little bit more accurate, for lack of a better term. You'll see these a lot on Olympic small bore shooting and some long range. I think Palma is the match that uses open sights like that. Either way, before getting too distracted, what's cool about the Winchester Model 70 in its controlled round feed form is it took some ideas from Mauser in the way that the bolt is designed. And what this funky little piece here is the claw. And so when you press this into the cartridge, it slides up in and holds on really, really tight. What this does is it prevents jams. So if the gun is dirty, it will hopefully prevent that cartridge from getting stuck, either in the loading system or when you're extracting it. It also means that if you're at an angle kind of the opposite of what gravity would like you to do, so if you're at an angle upside down, this rifle will still load. That's been a big plus for big game hunters, which is why if you happen to ever go to Africa on a hunting trip or hunt bear or something like that, a lot of guides will use a controlled round feed rifle like an old Winchester, like a Mauser action, but that's what you'll primarily see. These guns, one of the reasons why they're so sought after is these were machined by professionals by hand. All of these pieces were hand fit into the stock. The stock right here, this check ring, was done by a person, not a laser, not a machine. So they tend to just, they fit well, they function well, they look great. That deep bluing is the original shine on this gun. And this one was made in, I believe, 1953. So it's got some years on me, and it looks great, and it just functions beautifully. It is an incredibly smooth action, incredibly smooth firearm. The trigger on it is very, very crisp as well for being shot who knows how many times. The Winchester Model 70 has a wing style safety. So all the way forward in this position, it is ready to be fired, and then pulled all the way back. Heard that audible click, locks the bolt in place and locks the trigger out as well. So pretty simple, but what this does was very nice as opposed to some of the Mausers and other firearms is that it allowed you to put a scope on it. This is one of the first rifles that was designed with the idea of mounting a scope on it. So the front sight, or the rear sight right here, pardon me, is removable. What's very interesting about some of these older guns is there is a screw right here attaching it into the stock. Newer firearms try to have what's called a free float barrel. So there's nothing touching this barrel, because the concept is nothing's touching the barrel, nothing's going to throw off the vibrations. It's going to change where your point of impact and your accuracy. Not going to change the point of impact, not going to change where the accuracy is. So pretty darn neat. And this gun has a 24-inch barrel. Most newer firearms, like, hey, what's this? My Remington 700, have a 22-inch barrel. So it's a little bit shorter. Now, this is probably the other most popular bolt-action rifle in the country. And the Remington features a push feed as opposed to a controlled round feed. You see, there's no grab air, there's no claw on this bolt. The only thing it does is when you push it into the action, push it all the way up to the barrel with that cartridge in it, it grabs onto it then. So it'll help pull it out just fine, but there's a potential that if something funky happened, you wouldn't be able to get that cartridge even into the barrel. I've not tried to shoot either of these guns upside down, so I really can't tell you which one's gonna be more reliable in that regard. And like we were talking about, you see there's no attachment here for the barrel. It's just screwed into the action so that nothing can get in the way of that barrel. Nothing can throw that point of impact off at all, hopefully. These are not hand checkered. That was done by a machine. They're still rather nice, but you can almost feel that little bit of difference in there. Machines don't know what the grain of the stock looks like, things like that. They're somewhat esoteric, somewhat pedantic, but for collectors and guys that like that handmade quality, the Winchester is really where it's at. I think both these rifles are very attractive. Both of them came with iron sights on them. Amusingly enough, both of these stocks did not have recoil pads originally, but being that they're 30-06, they do kick a little bit. So after a couple of shots, your shoulder does start to hurt. The 30-06 is pretty manageable for the average person, but nonetheless, it doesn't hurt to make it a little more comfortable for yourself. Also, I have very long arms, so it helps give me a little bit more length here. It makes my, basically it increases the length from my shoulder to wherever the eyepiece would be. If you can imagine, if this stock was shorter and I was, let's say, up here, it would put my face really, really close to that scope. Not to mention it'd be very awkward for my arms to do everything that I need to. I think I hear my organic alarm clock behind me. Kennedy has probably come to visit. Hi, Kennedy. So I'm gonna log off right now. If you guys have any questions, want to know more about the Winchester Model 70 or the Remington Model 700, the 30-06, hunting, firearms ownership, anything like that, don't hesitate to send me a message, stop me in the store, give me a call, whatever you need to do. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in.